the Asian American Studies department in my school sent out like a mass email. I was like, hey, this is a internship that's going around. Maybe you should take a look at it. I looked at it. I looked up the OCA, and I thought it seems like a pretty good thing, and it coincides really well with UCDC. So I put it in my application. And of course, UCDC got canceled because of COVID, but they were willing to adjust the internship to remote. So it really worked out well.
It's a funny story. So I actually applied for a spring internship with OCA, and Ken interviewed me and everything, but I decided to go in like a different direction for the spring semester. But I knew that the OCA summer internship program still was a huge interest of mine because of the cohort. I was formerly pre-med, so I just started kind of switching into the advocacy space. Specifically, it was like Asian advocacy. And I figured that having a structured program for the summer in terms of like internship opportunities like the OCA one would be for me to keep exploring that interest of mine.
So initially I had no idea what OCA was, and then one day I got a Facebook message from a friend and he told me to apply, and there were only a couple of days left until the deadline, so I was like, oh shoot. But I thought it was a really great opportunity, so I was just like, why not? I quickly got my application together and submitted it last minute, but I'm so glad I did. Yeah, and also another motivation for me just actually apply, even though I was so close to the deadline, was because I never really had the chance to really work with a big AAPI organization, and I never really had the chance to really look into issues affecting the Asian American and Pacific Islander community. So I wanted to take that opportunity to kind of shoot my shot and hopefully get that internship, and I did.
So advocacy to me is actively creating space and resources for historically marginalized groups. I think that with advocacy, it's important to recognize that although we do come from a lot of intersections and come from different backgrounds and lived experiences, that this work never really stops and is oftentimes intergenerational, personal, and can only really work if we all collectively come together in solidarity.
Advocacy is the opportunity to turn an issue that you care about into reality, and turn it into a meaningful change. As a U.S. citizen, you have the right to voice your concerns to the government that you elect, and to make these necessary changes so that you can better others and better the future. And our representatives hear us through advocacy.
I think to me, advocacy is making an honest and genuine effort to understand social issues and make lifestyle changes to resolve those issues. And that can take the form of a lot of different practices, whether it's something as simple as, okay, I want to be an advocate for climate issues and changing your lifestyle around that, whether that's what you eat, what you buy, where you go even, whether it's racial issues, and that can involve, even the little things like changing your everyday language and the things that you say, all the way up to, putting your life on the front line at protests. It really has there's a versatility in the word advocacy, and I think there's a space for people to be an advocate in almost every avenue of their life.
I think with the Asian American and Pacific Islander diaspora, because it's such a large umbrella, there are so many issues and problems that kind of affect different communities under the umbrella. For example, Southeast Asians, South Asians disproportionately face deportations more frequently than East Asians do. And I think there's just there are so many different issues that like affect different communities at one time. But I think as a larger scale kind of community, I think like immigration has been the one thing that has kind of centered like all of our identities. Most individuals of our community come from an immigrant background. So I think like what kind of does unify us in that kind of sense is like immigration issues. So like borders, visas, and uniting families and such like that, and deportations essentially. So I guess like to my answer to that, I think like that's like a large issue that kind of like affects like the Asian Americans stepping out of the community the most.
It was a concern for me, and I've noticed, like, I've seen some, like, of the API orgs that I've came in contact with, like, consciously trying to be more intentional about, like, including PIs in, like, a non-performative way and such. But then a lot of these orgs kind of just have it in their title. And then maybe just, like, a sense of trust within communities, because I know, like, sometimes PI orgs are, like, hesitant to, like, you want to work with like orgs that claim API because of the fact that a good portion of them are just performative, and so like they don't want to be even further marginalized.
Some of the issues that I see in the API community is definitely like, you know, a lot of anti-Blackness, a lot of, you know, these bigger issues that we've done a lot of workshops on. And over the course of our internship, we kind of like dive deep into them and learn about each and every one of these issues. And I think another one is ultimately just speaking with your parents about these type of issues, because a lot of our communities are, you know, out of touch with politics. They don't really care, and this makes them really susceptible to like, you know, headlines and buzzwords, because often they don't really look at the details. They don't look at both sides. They just look at the big headlines.
I guess another issue is this reckoning with the overlapping histories of minoritized communities. I feel like sometimes it feels like the Asian American community is behind in that reckoning, and so definitely kind of understanding our own histories and how they intersect with Black America and with Latinx America, even with Native American America, is definitely an issue that has become more prevalent to me through the internship.
One of the first things that I think of immediately is just like learning how to foster community online, which I have found to be really, really cool the last couple of months. Like I didn't expect to get so close with a cohort or actually like be productive in this internship, but I did. I think that it turned out really well, and I'm feeling confident that even beyond this internship, we'll still continue to keep in touch. And I think that, you know, with things like this, like internship programs with organizations and things like that, I think the network that you build is one of like the best parts, and it's definitely going to be something I think about a lot even after this internship ends.
I think that I learned a lot of like what it means to work in a virtual space. I know this year has been the year of Zoom and the year of Microsoft Teams, and I never thought that it takes skill to like operate in like a virtual office, but it really does. I think you really have to learn how to set a routine, and you know, routines are really easy when everything is in person and the world is like operating at normal. But with working virtually, it takes a lot of willpower to get out of bed and eat breakfast and sit on a Zoom call at like 9 or 10 a.m. as like, you know, the first thing you need to do in the day. So I think I've learned how to be adaptable is really what I'm trying to say.
So before the summer, I really had no idea what communications meant, even though I was assigned to be a communications intern. But I learned what communications meant, and I learned a lot from the communications position. But besides that, I learned a lot about topics and issues within the API community from some discussions and also from the intern presentation. And I think a lot of the skills and a lot of topics that I learned about are really important to learn about, especially as an Asian American and also as a recent graduate who is job hunting. I'm really grateful for the summer, and I'm also really thankful for everyone who taught me so much during this summer.
For future interns, stand your ground despite like what you see like higher ups or even people that are your peers are saying. Just be yourself. And I think that like, especially us, we have like a different kind of moral compass than those that have come before us. And I think that if we stick to what we know and what we're seeing and like the inequities in our societies today, that we could possibly change the landscape for future AAPI people.
So even if you're given like a role or sort of like I came into OCA thinking I would get like a communications focused thing. I didn't. I didn't think I would be at the NAACP either. So it was the placement and the roles were very unique for me. And so don't come in thinking like there's a preconceived notion of this internship. There's likelihood that you might not get it. But that's good because it sort of opens you up, pressures you to like learn new skills. All these things are really good for future development, especially.
My advice to future interns would be to learn how to say no, but also don't spread yourself out like so thinly in so many different spaces. Really think about why you are here and why you are doing the things that you are doing. And by doing that is by being open and flexible to ideas, to conversations, to other people's identities.
My advice is to be yourself and also to ask questions when you're confused, because it can be very frustrating during this pandemic, especially when you're doing online work and there's different people working at different time zones. So definitely ask questions if you're confused, and don't be afraid to reach out to anybody if you're having problems, and definitely take care of yourself because mental health really matters.
So I think first, just like being in NAKASEC space has been really valuable. And honestly, some things that I've loved, we do youth organizing. And so in that we have weekly meetings with a group of high schoolers and we teach them about social justice and like Asian American identities and political issues. And so it's just so exciting seeing these high schoolers like grapple with these different topics and be able to apply them to their lives.
I think one of my favorite memories was when it was my birthday in Sama on the Friday, and so everyone was like singing happy birthday to me over Zoom, but Zoom was like lagging for everyone, so it really just sounded kind of like a bunch of zombies like dragging. It's okay. I really enjoyed it because I love the thought that went into it, and I just love honestly the conversations that we have over like Facebook Messenger and stuff, and I feel really comfortable and welcome.
I think my most memorable moment was actually recently where we were all up, well not all of us, but some of us were up till like 1 a.m. taking Harry Potter quizzes to see what house we were in. And like I think it was just funny how like a lot of us would not accept what the sorting hat gave us, so we just continuously took the sorting hat quiz until we got like a house that we got, except for David, he continuously got Ravenclaw like 5 times or 6 times. So I think that was like one of my memorable moments, because I think that like kind of grew me, like kind of showed a different side of me, because like I'm pretty geeky and I don't really show that a lot. And I'm glad like I felt comfortable in that space.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate just this cohort in general and their openness and their love I was shocked, like, to be real. In the beginning, it takes me a while to get to know people. I was shocked in the beginning how much like everyone talked, like we're all strangers, and it didn't help that, you know, we're meeting only, like, literally only face to face, and virtually we don't see like each other in our wholeness being in person. But I very much look forward to meeting everyone one day, and even though sometimes I may not look like it or not say much, I definitely have appreciated it very much.
Okay, oh, Kevin! Welcome back. It's nice of you to join us.
Nico said that we should start without you.